Welcome to the award-winning Champions Mojo, hosted by two world record-holding athletes and health, life, and leadership coaches. And now, just the takeaways from your hosts, Kelly Pallas and Maria Parker.
All right, so Maria, Rebecca Soni, multiple Olympic champion, world record holder. What an
wise woman.
Wise and yes, so evolved and obviously worlds away from the Rebecca Soni from the Olympics, and in the best possible way, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved so much of what she had to say, and I love that she has created a new life for herself where she's giving back, to the community and trying to really help both athletes, elite athletes transitioning out of their sport, and youngsters, who need the mindset training coming up into the sport. So it's like the best of all worlds.
Yes. Yeah. The program that she's doing with Rise is fantastic. And there are a lot of takeaways, but we're going to just hit two. What was your very first one?
Well, I guess, you really should listen to the whole thing because there's so much in there, but one of the things that she said that I loved was, we talked about transitions, and every human, if you're lucky and can live a long life, will go through transitions where you are no longer one thing and now you're something else. And one of the things she said that was a perfect little bit of wisdom was to remind yourself that you're in a transition, because transitions, even if they're good things, you're moving, you're having a baby, you're whatever, retiring, even if they're joyful things, they're transitions, and transitions are hard. And if you just give yourself grace, I think sometimes when we're transitioning, especially to something good, we can be really hard on ourselves. Like, why am I not happy? I'm married, or I have a baby, or I'm doing the thing I always loved. And what she said was, you just got to remind yourself that it's a transition, and give yourself grace, and know that you'll move through it. That transitions are hard. So I thought that was a great bit of advice.
Yes, I think that was fantastic. And even, like a lot of post-Olympic champions, she had a depression period after, her swimming career ended. And that was a big transition for her. But like she said, it doesn't even have to be as big as the Olympics. You get married, you get divorced, you move. I know. Any little transition, I just love that. It's reminding yourself that you're in the transition. And then you can even extrapolate that to remind yourself when you're doing something hard, like, this is hard. It's okay to not be enjoying, this cavity that's being drilled. This is hard. And, just recognizing, I think that's also just great wisdom.
Give us your first takeaway.
My first takeaway was, I thought the story, and I think this is on our Mojo Minute, but the story of her being, it's not the full story, but her being behind the blocks at the Olympics and listening to her just fighting. She said it was effortful, and she was fighting it, and her body felt terrible. And then she listened to her mind saying what her inner voice was. She was listening to her inner voice. How did she transition from being in a terrible place mentally and physically? She said she was exhausted. She has no idea how she won the gold and set the world record, but she said, I listened to what I was saying, and then I let go, and I just let go. And so I think that I would describe as being in flow. And so my takeaway is, to get into flow, you've got to listen to your thoughts. Stop just forcing it and fighting something. And, that which you resist persists is one of my favorite sayings.
Yes.
So just kind of let go. And so that got her into flow. It got the negative voice in her head to go away because she recognized it. So that was my first one.
Oh yeah, that's such a great one. And earlier in the show, she talked about even just writing stuff down, like when your head is just crazy, and just writing it down and throwing it away just to get it out of there. You can't do that behind the blocks, of course, but yeah, that's a great point. Resistance, a lot has been talked about it, but it's how do you move through resistance? You address it. You say, okay, this is it. Oh, that's wonderful. I love that takeaway.
How about your last one?
My second one is, something we talk about frequently, but I don't think you can talk about it enough, is she's really learned to be in the moment, or she's learning. She's trying to be, in the moment. And I particularly like that when she talked about, someday maybe being in a rocking chair, like old in a rocking chair. And we laugh, but she said, I'm going to be backing and forthing. And that's such a beautiful description of rocking, because when you're rocking, you're backing and forthing. She talked about, observing the joy of a sunrise or the crackle of the fire. So it's really, another word for it is mindfulness, but just being in the moment can bring you a lot of peace and joy. And I think it can help reduce the loud voices of resistance that, can be in your head.
Yes, no doubt that is a beautiful thing. And one of the little hacks or tips that we use in our coaching is to keep people in the present moment is now I am. So the words are, now I am rocking. Now I am doing a podcast. So you're present, because it's so often we're just doing something. We may be mindlessly, thinking that we're talking to someone, but we're looking at our phone, or we're thinking about our next thing. But now I am having a conversation with my husband, or now I am,
eating.
Rocking. So
now I'm eating. Now I'm tasting this food. Now it's wonderful.
Yeah. So I think that's a good tool. I love that one too. And my second and final takeaway was truly that, she was depressed after she got out of the Olympics. And so her healing for herself was connecting to others, and especially connecting with her dog. So I say, I think all of us earthlings, I walk around our neighborhood here and we have these unbelievable number of frogs that seem to pop out and be sitting in my path on the sidewalk. And I can't tell you the way that it just changes my parasympathetic nervous system when I'm, walking along and I see these beautiful little froggies sitting in front of me. I always stop and I say, hey, Mr. Frog. I said in the show, Mark and I call these earthlings, that I think the world would be just a more divine place if all of us were earthlings, not Americans versus this, or women versus men, or whatever. It's just, we're not Republicans and Democrats, we're earthlings. Yeah. And so the way that Rebecca got through this depressive period was she connected to her dog, she connected to her friends. And so I think that's a good thing for anyone. And I also, one of our real focuses right now is helping people with depression and anxiety. And Champions Mojo has launched a depression and anxiety toolkit for athletes that is free. It's totally free. And we've curated the very best information and resources for anyone with that. It's, it's on our website, but I think, that connecting to people is definitely, it's one of our steps in the toolkit, and Rebecca used it. So I just thought there's a lot there. I hope people will listen to the whole show, but if they're just getting the takeaways, then that's, those are our two.
Yeah. So if you're depressed or anxious, it's important to remember that we're incomplete without other beings, as you said, and I think we are not meant to be alone. My dad used to say, when you're alone, you make you make the wrong decisions. So connect with others and other beings, frogs, lizards, dogs,
doggies,
that's
cats,
a great takeaway. It was
swimmers,
cyclists.
yeah.
Mommies and daddies and grandkids too.
Yeah. And sisters.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah. Never had a sister until I had you, Maria. So
we're so lucky to have each other.
Yeah, we are. All right. Well, another one in the books. And thanks,
all right.
Maria.
All right.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Champions Mojo podcast with host Kelly Pallas and Maria Parker. Champions Mojo is produced by Cabra Media, and a new episode debuts every Tuesday. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. Follow Champions Mojo on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook @Champions Mojo.